We're here for part 2 of breathing. How to breathe. Sounds so simple, yet it's so difficult. I read somewhere actually that there's like a study or something that they found that we only use about 10 to 20% of our full breathing capacity. That's crazy. Let's just review why it's so important. It is important because it is a muscle. And let's talk about your quad, because everybody loves to strengthen their quads. You would strengthen your quads, and let's say you're a runner and you know that by not strengthening your quad, you're going to lead to some kind of overuse injury. You're just going to keep on using it over and over and over, and you have to stop and take a day to work out your actual quad muscle and retrain it, tell it what it's supposed to do, and get it stronger. You're not getting it stronger by running, you're just constantly overusing it at the same state, the same rate. And that is just like your diaphragm. So if the only time you're actually trying to use it is when you're exercising or working out or running or whatever, we should stick with running, it's not going to be working to the full capacity that it can. And why that makes a difference is because you're not going to get as much oxygen to your blood as you need. And so if you're an athlete, you could be performing at a way higher level if you're actually getting a full amount of oxygen to your body. And if you're just like a regular person like me, then why wouldn't we want all of the oxygen that we can get into our body to fight off disease and so many things that I don't really feel like listing. I feel like we all know what oxygen does for our body when cells are depleted. I think they actually found that cancer cells are more apt to become mutated when they're oxygen depleted. So let's just leave it there, because that's like a huge thing. Like, you need oxygen in your body. Stop depleting it. So if you're watching this video, you're probably sitting, I'm gonna guess. So start by sitting, and hopefully you've been able to get your diaphragm to expand by now. And if not, then stop. Go back. You got to get the diaphragm down first. You got to get that belly expansion, and the only way to do it is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Just sit there for 5 minutes and just breathe. By the way, when you do this, don't take huge, massive inhalations and really short exhalations, because you're going to get dizzy and you're going to pass out. Just be warned. And remember to always breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, because that is the efficient way to, again, get as much oxygen into your lungs as possible. And it also filters the air, and well, we'll make another video all about that. So you're probably sitting, yes? And if you can get your belly to expand, then that's great, and stay sitting. If you can't, lay down, hands on the ribs. This is where I like to start with my patients, is you got this down, you're breathing this way, and now we need to get you to breathe this way too. And this is usually the most difficult. So this is where all the fun comes in. Hands here, and just think about, I want to push my ribs away. So you can see how my hands are moving. When I exhale, everything recoils. So this is my diaphragm working at its finest laterally. And also my intercostals, don't forget about those. Those are all those little muscles in between our ribs. They're running this way and they're running that way. So for inhalation and exhalation. Now if this is really hard and you can't get it down, now go to lying down. And even get your legs up on something so you can fully concentrate on just breathing. Okay, so now we're laying down. And it should be a lot easier this way. So we've taken gravity out of the situation. Hands are on your ribs. And just think about pulling those ribs apart. Another thing that I like to do is just say, push into my hands. When you take a big breath, remember, in through your nose. And even try to hold it at the top. Exhale through your mouth. Make sure this is long, slow, and controlled breathing, just like with your quad exercise, your bicep exercise. You're not gonna like rip through these exercises because it's not beneficial. It's not really getting your quad or your bicep or whatever you're not efficiently getting it stronger. You're not working that like eccentric loading, which is like returning back to neutral. So you want to work on that for the diaphragm too, because it's a muscle. So here is a lot of diaphragm going this way, right? Some anterior expansion, and we're trying to get lateral expansion. So now if you're really dominant here and you're having a hard time here, you push this down for real, physically. Give yourself some abdominal pressure, because now where else can it go? If you're laying down, now it has to go this way. And it might seem like cheating, but it's okay. You're facilitating these breathing muscles. So that should help. If you're having a hard time on just one side, then just put one hand on that side and just really focus on pushing into it. Push that hand away. It's not like a huge amount, but it should move. You can see my hands moving, right? And don't get stressed out about this now moving a little bit, because it has to, because we're not just focusing on this lower abdominal breathing. Now we're focusing on lateral expansion too. This takes a lot of focus. Sometimes I've taken bands and I've wrapped them around people's ribs, and that just gives them a little tactile cueing so they can take their hands away, especially if there's like a shoulder injury involved here. We want them to just be able to relax or to do this. Then wrap something around you. Put your corset on and just rip that corset apart. If it's a band, rip the band apart. Okay, so now once you can get this and you're breathing and it's comfortable, that's great. Then move into sitting, because sitting is always harder. And I tell people to do it in the car when they're driving. I don't know if that's dangerous, but if it's not too much for you to focus on, then try to do it in the car, or just when you're sitting, when you're at your desk, when you're in school, whatever you're doing, sitting, do it. Just try to make it more and more habit, but make it an actual exercise. Or if you're working out, make this an actual exercise. Give yourself like 5 minutes of breathing a few times a day to work on that diaphragm muscle. So then when that's easy, bring it into standing. When you can stand and do it, bring it into walking. So you're just trying to make yourself more and more functional and dynamic with this. Okay, so now that you're in sitting, get your hands around your ribs again. Pull those ribs apart. Same thing that you did when you were laying down. Now try to do it without your hands. Try to just have that expansion happen naturally. Once you master this, hands back on the ribs again. And I think it's easiest to do this part of breathing when you're sitting. So you should be pretty confident with your diaphragmatic breathing at this point. So if you think about the diaphragm, it's this inside of us. It goes all the way around, all the way to our back, and it attaches back there too. So if it's attaching back there and it's expanding, then it should be expanding in our backs too. And so that is the other place where you want to feel some expansion. You want to feel the ribs expanding in the back too, but what you don't want to feel are all those paraspinal muscles all along your spine, those little thick cords. You don't want to feel those flaring up every time you take an inhalation. If you feel it a little bit on the exhalation, that's okay, because they're an accessory muscle to exhalation, like forced exhalation. And we will get into that in another video. So here, just make sure, get your thumbs on the back of your ribs, on the base of my ribs. And this will be really good too. When you feel back there, you'll feel what other muscles are really like flaring up. And for me, it's my QL. Great, which I already knew, no secret, lots of pain. But hopefully you don't feel stuff like that. And if you do, then we will continue to address it as we go through this whole series of breathing that's going to take like 7 years to get through. I'm just kidding, it won't take that long. But there are so many really important parts, and if you're into being a human being and functioning at your highest capacity, then I think this breathing stuff is really important for you to get and to educate others. So what you want to do with whatever level you're at with this, try to do it a few times a day, 3 times a day for 5 minutes at a time. Might sound like a lot, but it's going to be so helpful for you, because we didn't even talk about the fact that it like turns on your parasympathetic system, which is your like calming system. And added bonus, when you take your really big full nasal inhalations, that air is getting all the way down into like the lower lobes of the lungs, and down there are parasympathetic nerve receptors. And so when you're like in this nice calming, slow, controlled breathing, not hyperventilating type of breathing and motion, you're turning all that on, and it's automatically, if you have back pain, it's going to be shut down pretty quickly if you can stick with it for several minutes and then just hang out there for a little while. Oh, so many benefits. I'm so excited. Next time we will try to integrate this into some exercises and kind of like the basics of building your stability in your core through breathing. So if you have back pain, hip pain, neck pain, any of that, it's going to be helpful. Can't wait.